Hi, I'm Father George, Episcopal priest, Ford truck enthusiast, and smoked brisket champion. And today, Steamboat and I are going to be showing you the proper care and keeping of linen clerical collars. This will be a step-by-step guide on how to clean, starch, press, and store your linen collars to keep them looking great and feeling great. I live here in Southeast Texas where it is hot and humid, and I cannot stand wearing those plastic clerical collars. They are very uncomfortable, and if you ever try wearing a linen collar, especially in the summertime here, you'll never want to wear a plastic one again. The only real drawback to the linen collars is that they do require more care than plastic collars to keep clean and looking fresh. So I'm hoping to show you today that it's really not that bad, and I promise you the extra work is well worth the everyday comfort. So this collar I'm wearing now, I've been wearing for almost 2 weeks. As you can see, it is keeping its shape well and looking pretty good. Now the higher the temperature and humidity where you live, the more frequently you will have to wash and starch your collars. Even still, the 7 collars that I'm going to be washing today in the summertime will last me for 2 months between cleanings, and up to 3 months for the rest of the year. So the things that we'll need to be able to do this, I have over here on the table. I use OxiClean for whitening, Woolite for cleaning. There is some spray starch for just tidying up the collars. I use an Argo laundry starch, I'll tell you more about in a minute, and then some regular household cleaners for the surfaces that the collars are going to be used on. So before we begin, you need to prepare a place where you will wash the collars. For me, that'll be in my bathroom sink. And then you also need a smooth, clean surface like a granite countertop, or in my case, I'm going to use my bathroom mirror. A smooth, clean surface where you can lay the collars out to dry with the starch on them. Now it is important that you have a clean workspace. When the collars are wet with the starch solution, you don't want them to pick up any stray dirt. You also want to make sure that everything is put away and in its proper place, and that you've cleaned the faucet, handles, and mirror thoroughly. The reason for this will become abundantly clear a bit later. So I wash the collars in hot water, adding a full scoop of OxiClean. OxiClean is for whitening of the collars. You do not want to use chlorine bleach. Chlorine bleach will eventually turn your collars yellow. The OxiClean does a great job of making them white. And a full cap of Woolite for detergent. And I'm now going to soak the collars. So after I get the collars wet, I just take the dirtiest parts of the collars, and you can just kind of scrub them on themselves to help clean those areas. So we'll let the collars soak while we go make the starch. So now it is time to make our starch. I use an Argo laundry starch. You can actually use just regular cornstarch from your grocery store baking section, but I find that the laundry starch holds up a little bit better to the ironing and won't discolor as fast. So I recommend you use this. It's not expensive. You can get it from Amazon. The directions on the back recommend for heavy starch to use 2 quarts of water to a half cup of Argo starch. I would cut the water in half. Make it twice as thick as the heavy starch recommendation. So I use a half cup of starch to 1 quart of water. So we have the half cup of starch, and per the directions I'm going to mix that into a cup of cool water. Once that is mixed, I'm going to pour it into this saucepan and turn on the heat. Make sure it's mixed well. And as it's heating, I'm going to slowly stir in the 1 quart of cool water. And then we'll continue to stir this slowly as the water comes to a boil. As it gets close to coming to a boil, as it heats up, it'll change from a thin, bright white color to kind of translucent and grayish in color. So I stir it as it's boiling and let it boil for about a minute. Now I'll let this cool down a little bit while I go and finish cleaning the colors. So the starch is way too hot to use at this point. It would burn your hands to try to starch the collars. So while that cools down, I'm going to clean the collars, and they've been soaking now for about 10-15 minutes, and they've come pretty clean. Any spots that are dirty, again, you can just kind of scrub out on themselves. If you have a really particularly difficult spot, using an old toothbrush to scrub the spot works well. So I'm going to now rinse the collars. I rinse them with warm water, warm to hot water. It's important that you get the soap out of the collars as best you can. So I just soak them, kind of rinse them off and then soak them in cold water warm water for a few moments. So the color should be warm from the warm water, and you wring out most of the excess water that's in them, and they will absorb the starch better. So as I'm wringing out the colors, I'm just going to drop them into the starch. Starch is still very hot, but it has cooled down to the point where it's okay to put the collars in there. So again, I'm just going to wring out the collars as best as I can, get the excess water out of them, and they'll stand a better chance of getting good quality starch on them. So the collars have been soaking for about 15 minutes in the starch now, and so at this point I'm going to set them out to dry. If you want to come on over here, you can see what we're doing. So while the starch is still warm, you just want to get all the excess starch off of the collars that you can. And I'm just going to squeeze out all of the excess starch. And then put them up on the mirror to dry. And the more you flatten them out and get them straightened out, the less ironing you'll have to do on them later. And you want to just soak up any of the extra starch that comes off when you squeeze it into place. So I want to get all the air out of the collar and get rid of the excess starch off the mirror. So that's basically it for right now. The collars are up on the mirror where we'll leave them overnight to dry.
Honey, dinner's ready. What the?
Hey, I cleaned my sink.
Oh, okay. Come eat dinner.
So I have let the collars dry overnight, and now it is time to press them. You can just peel the collars off of the mirror. And to clean the starch off the mirror, it's just warm water and a washcloth. Takes it right off. So we're ready to iron the collars. I have this style press from Singer. This lets me press 2 or 3 collars at a time, but just a regular iron works plenty good. I do also use a heavy spray starch to tidy up the collars. You can see the way they dried, there are some wrinkles there in the material, and a spray starch just helps to tidy that up and makes it a little easier to press them. So I just spray one side of the collars and get them pretty damp, and I put them wet side down in my iron, ironing the dry side. And you got to be careful not to let the collars get too hot or the starch will discolor. After the spray starch is dried, I press both sides. So then just fold the collar and put it into its shape in a collar box. Well, that's all there is to it. The whole process takes me about an hour of my time to complete. That's not counting the time for the collars to soak in the starch or in the sink or to dry overnight. Now, if you're in a hurry, you can use something like a space heater to speed up the drying process. Like this, the collars will be ready to be pressed in about a couple of hours instead of overnight. Also, you can store your unused starch in a plastic container in the refrigerator for up to a couple of weeks. I wouldn't do longer than that, but for up to a couple of weeks. And when you are ready to use it again, just heat the starch back up in the pot. Make sure you stir it so it's consistent, and it'll work just the same as when you first made it. Then finally, to get a little bit of extra mileage out of your collars, you can freshen them up with a spray starch, press them again, and then maybe fold them inside out to get a new clean side to the collar, and they'll last a few more days that way. Well, that's it. I hope you have found this helpful. Until next time, blessings to you in your ministry.